Welcome to the deep dive. We basically take interesting stuff and pull out the key ideas for you.
That's the plan.
And today we're exploring the world of poet Mitch Ditkoff. We're looking at some reflections on his life, his work, and a really key moment, why he actually left poetry graduate school.
Yeah, it's quite a story.
Our goal here is really to find some wisdom,
Hmm?
about finding your own way, what sparks inspiration, all without getting sort of lost in academic talk.
Exactly. Practical takeaways.
So let's maybe start with this idea of the sublime in his poetry.
Okay, yeah. So the sublime, it's this concept of something, huge, bigger than us, something that makes you feel awe, maybe even a bit of, well, profoundness.
Right, like standing edge of the Grand Canyon kind of feeling.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
And Ditkoff's work often touches on this. His poems dig into love and longing and letting go. These are pretty big themes, and they tie into his own spiritual path, which was inspired by Prem Rawat.
Okay, I see that connection. And his language, his imagery, really seems to capture that intensity. You mentioned things like fire in his belly, light in his heart.
And the ocean of love. Yeah. Powerful stuff. It evokes these almost overwhelming feelings, but also challenges like doubt and fear. He explores those too.
It kind of makes sense why those mystic poets, Rumi, Kabir, Hafiz, Gibran, still feel so relevant, doesn't it? They cap into something really fundamental.
Absolutely. Which, interestingly, leads us to this other piece you found, this incredibly imaginative scene, Rumi and Kabir bowling.
Oh, I loved this. It's just such a great image. You picture these, revered spiritual figures.
The bowling alley, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rolling these perfectly round balls down a perfectly polished alley, laughing. The pins falling like cedars in Lebanon. It just makes them seem so...
You're human.
It does. And it's right there in that totally ordinary setting that we get this flash of their deeper perspective.
You mean the bit with the employee?
Yeah. The employee says, "Hey, we're closed." And Rumi just passionately declares, "No, it's open." Right? Like the Red Sea parting, or a window in summer, or a hopeful heart. Wow.
It's this amazing metaphor, isn't it? How our perception can totally shift reality. What seems closed might actually be open. They even invite the guy to join them. It's all about connection, being present.
That's brilliant. It really makes you stop and think about the limits we put on things unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of breaking out of expected boxes, let's talk about Ditkoff leaving grad school.
Ah, yes. The Brown University story.
Yeah, this really stood out for me. It feels, well, pretty bold.
What specifically struck you about it? The context?
Well, yeah, he's 22. He's got a full ride to this prestigious MFA program at Brown. And he asks his professors this question, out of the blue almost. If you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you be?
Which is quite a question to ask your mentors, really.
Totally. And their answers, Baja California, Guatemala, the Pacific Northwest, essentially anywhere but there.
They all wanted to be somewhere else.
Exactly. And for Ditkoff, that was apparently this huge light bulb moment.
You can see why, though. If the people guiding you don't actually want to be where they are, well, it makes you question if you're heading in the right direction yourself, doesn't it?
Absolutely. He saw their real desires were elsewhere. So he concluded, quite simply, that his education needs to happen somewhere else.
And then he just walked away from the scholarship and everything.
Pretty much. He decided to move to Cambridge, Massachusetts, worked as a night desk clerk in a hotel. Why? So he'd have time during the day to read, to write, and crucially, to live what he called the poetry of life on his own terms.
Wow. That's a commitment to a different kind of learning, not the institutional kind.
Right. So if you kind of pull all these threads together, the search for the sublime in poetry, that playful Rumi and Kabir scene, and this big life decision.
You see this consistent theme, I think. It's about seeking something deeper, that sense of meaning, or the sublime, maybe, and finding it in places you wouldn't necessarily expect, like a bowling alley, or by deliberately choosing a less obvious path.
Yeah, it suggests that real growth, real learning, doesn't always happen where we think it should. It's not always in the classroom or the library.
Sometimes it's about paying attention to that inner voice and what you genuinely desire in the present moment.
Exactly. So maybe a final thought for you, listening right now. Consider Mitch Ditkoff's professors, or Mitch himself. What's your somewhere else? Not necessarily packing your bags tomorrow, but is there a place, a feeling, a project that's calling to you?
Maybe what's one small thing, one tiny step you could take towards it today? Just something to think about.
Great thought. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.